So we've got consolidated municipal elections coming up in just a handful of weeks. If you don't have more than, I think, 4 candidates, then the election is the first Tuesday of April. If you do have more than 4 candidates and you got a primary coming up later this month, that's the case like up in Chicago where there's like 10 different candidates for mayor. And incumbent Mayor Lori Lightfoot's going to have to get through a primary before they can get to the general consolidated municipal elections. But part of all of that as well, it's not just who's going to be the next mayor or the village president or on the city council or the village board. You also have races for school boards and races for library districts. And Governor J.B. Pritzker has recently elevated this as an issue that he's concerned with, especially as there seems to be a national spotlight on advanced placement college course material about certain types of history. You've got the ongoing concerns about what kinds of books are available at the public school library when it comes to gender studies and a variety of other things like libraries hosting quote, child-friendly drag shows, people pushing back against that. And taxpayers saying they don't want their tax dollars to fund that. And you've got school districts that have grassroots types of individuals looking to focus more on parents' rights than on school and teacher unions' rights. So an interesting dynamics brewing here. Of course, this is after 3 years of COVID-19, where the first year and a half or so you had schools put on lockdown, you had masks being required, you had vaccine mandates in school districts. But not all school districts complied with that. You saw that some more rural school districts pushed back and actually took part in litigation against Governor J.B. Pritzker and his mandates on local school districts. So we've seen the arguments about local control. We've seen the argument about parents' rights. We've seen that come up against teacher unions that are very powerful and have a war chest, so to speak, in the dues that teachers pay that then get turned into political funding to support the school board candidates that will support teachers unions. And we talk about this as there's a school board forum of sorts that's going to be held, and you'll hear about it here on WMAY with WMAY's Jim Leach going to be the moderator of that. But what are some of the issues that are going to come up? Governor J.B. Pritzker talked briefly about libraries and school districts and school board races, and he addressed what he said was what he sees as a bit of a troubling development from what a lot of people see as grassroots individuals getting up and getting involved in their races, but the governor asked why he's elevating this, especially as part of a national conversation. He says it's not just about national stuff, it's also about Illinois stuff. Here's the governor yesterday being asked about all of these issues.
Well, I think broadcasting our values here in Illinois is good for the state of Illinois. That we are opposed to banning books in the state of Illinois is something that people ought to know about us, that we are not interfering with the education system in the state and the way that a teacher presents, their information to their classroom, their kids, that we're lifting up education, we're not tearing it down. And other states are doing that. And I think that whether we're talking about businesses that are thinking about moving here or people that are thinking about moving here, people are choosing not to go to those states where they're restricting freedoms and instead coming to Illinois where we're protecting them.
Are you concerned about that happening at the local level here in Illinois?
I am. I think you see it in some of the school board candidates and library board candidates that are running, there are organizations that are anti-LGBTQ, that are racist, that are anti-Muslim, that are supporting candidates for these local boards. And they're trying to take over at a local level and build up candidates at the local level that they can then run for the state legislature and for other offices. And we've seen some of them actually elevated to running for governor. So it's without naming names. And it is important, I think, for people to pay attention to it, for us to elevate it to you in the media and for us to talk about it. Because number one, it's good for the state when people outside of Illinois hear about it. And number two, when people in Illinois know when they go to the voting booth, they may not be prepared to vote for candidates for school board or library board, and they need to be. They need to know that these people, some of the people who are running, are actually part of these organizations trying to restrict freedoms.
Republicans seem to have a plan on that front, which you've alluded to. Do Democrats have a plan to counter that, or are you put resources behind the plan to counter that sort of push?
We are supporting candidates, that are standing up for freedom.
So again, that's Governor J.B. Pritzker seeming to downplay what appears to be some grassroots efforts to have groups get candidates elected that are focused on parents' rights. And we talked with Shannon Adcock from Awake, Illinois, last month, a few weeks ago, and she talked about some of the rationale she has for opposing things like, at library, school districts, and elsewhere having child-friendly drag shows. Here is Shannon Adcock when we talked with her a few weeks ago.
To say, no, that is not the place for a taxpayer-funded entity to host basically a sexualized event for minors. It gathered their information, their name, their number, and we had no idea where that information went. So there were a lot of issues with that. And fortunately, the event did not happen. So we're talking about actually empowering communities to know what is happening with this war on children. And that's exactly what it is. We have to tell it like it is. The sexualization of children is wrong. It is harmful. And we're creating that awareness. So
she was talking in particular about an event that she raised awareness about, and it drew a lot of controversy, that ultimately the event was canceled, but then the reverberations circling back around and groups that don't like Awake, Illinois, seeming to try to shut down events that they had. So it was kind of a tit for tat, so to speak. But Adcock also talked about the importance of local school board races and why she's involved in trying to recruit more candidates to office in school boards. Here she is laying out some of those particulars.
Yeah, it's so amazing. So never before has there been a grassroots effort to support school board candidates that are for kids, for community, for academics. And this is where we really launched. 2 days after I lost my own school board race, I said, people need better help when they run for this particular office. So that's when Awake, Illinois launched, 2 days after the 2021 school board elections. And now we've got dozens. We've got dozens of school board races that we're helping. We're empowering candidates to know what it takes to be a school board member, what the Open Meetings Act is about, what it's going to take to really connect with your community and to know what issues are affecting them. Is it their property taxes? Is it the curricula? Is it the busing contracts? How do you get the message from the community to know how to best represent the community? Because unfortunately, too many times, Greg, people get elected to this role and they bow to government mandates that, as it turns out, have been proven illegal. Thank you, Thomas DeVore, in the masking case. So, it's important that they know exactly how their community is expecting them to govern and be stewards of their tax dollars. And they're so ready to represent kids and community and put that ahead of the politics and the special interest in the teacher unions. So I think you're going to see a massive wave of really, really good grassroots community members run and win their seats for school board. It's the most important race that people are going to have this year.
So again, that was Shannon Adcock from Awake, Illinois, talking about the school board races that at least they're recruiting people to get involved in. Of course, the ballots are set moving forward, and the school boards are going to be elected the first Tuesday of April as the municipal and consolidated elections culminate then. But did you hear racist rhetoric there? Did you hear anti-LGBTQ rhetoric there? Governor J.B. Pritzker throwing those terms around, seeming to cast that aspersion upon some of these grassroots efforts statewide. So it's kind of fascinating to again see all of the political rhetoric bleed in from the top tickets on down. We'll see how this all plays out, of course, as we monitor government and how it's spending your tax resources and how it's treating your kids at school and